Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Let's begin with the headlines this morning. Parts of Kashmir in the grip of flood fury. Evacuations pick up pace as National Disaster Relief Force personnel move in. Met Office forecasts more rains. India starts evacuating its citizens from Yemen. Prime Minister speaks to Saudi King for help in the process. Airstrikes continue with 40 dead and hundreds injured in a fresh attack on a relief camp. Early results from Nigeria's election show incumbent President Goodluck Jonathan and opposition's Muhammadu Buhari running neck and neck. Final results are to be out later today. And as the deadline nears in the nuclear talks with Iran, tricky issues persist despite negotiators pushing late into the night to reach a preliminary agreement. Our top story on the bulletin this morning, a worsening flood situation in Kashmir. 7 bodies were recovered after a full day of rescue operations at a house hit by landslides in Budgam district. Many are still missing. Teams of the National Disaster Relief Forces NDRF have moved in for rescue operations in many parts of the state now as people flee their homes. Here's more.
Seven months after the widespread destruction caused by unprecedented rains, Kashmir residents are once again staring at the prospect of a similar calamity. Heavy unseasonal rains are breaching embankments, flooding rivers and drowning low-lying areas. Hundreds have been evacuated and moved to safer places. Civil administration, along with the army and the police, have launched rescue efforts to completely evacuate areas along the rivers and lakes. 2 NDRF teams comprising 100 personnel have been rushed to the valley as part of contingency measures.
We have dispatched 2 NDRF teams comprising almost 95 people with all sophisticated equipments. They are carrying boats, they are carrying diving sets, they are carrying life jackets and life buoys. They are also carrying satellite phones with them so that if the communication breaks down, they will be able to establish contacts with each other. There has been some areas where the waterlogging has taken place. Our first and foremost task would be to evacuate those people, if at all they need to be evacuated, and to rescue those people who are trapped either in the structures or in the inundated water.
State Chief Minister Mufti Muhammad Saeed, who took stock of the situation, asked the army to provide logistical support to the civil administration to effectively counter the flood situation.
नहीं, पैनिक तो होना चाहिए. पिछले दफा जब हुआ इनको वार्निंग नहीं. आज हमने उनको, मेरे ख्याल में सिचुएशन खुदा के फजल से ठीक हो जाएगी. मेरी उम्मीद वही है.
Alarmed by the situation, Prime Minister Narendra Modi rushed a central team headed by Union Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi to coordinate with the state authorities.
सरकार स्टेट की भी और सेंट्रल की भी कमिटेड है, पूरी तरह से किसी भी तरह का कोर कसर नहीं छोड़ेगी और पूरी तरह से लोगों की मदद करेगी और इस तरह के जो हालात हैं उस पे काबू पाया जा सके इसकी कोशिश करेंगे.
Landslides triggered by torrential rains have caused considerable damage to several houses in the valley. The crucial Jammu-Srinagar highway has also been blocked after large stretches of the road got damaged. With the Met Department predicting more rains in the next 2 days, the situation in the valley could only worsen. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Joining me for a chat this morning to talk about the flood-like situation in Kashmir is the Chief of Bureau of Greater Kashmir, Anil Anand. Anil, thank you for joining me on the program. Good morning.
Good morning.
As far as the situation in the valley is concerned right now, do you think we are better equipped this time around to tackle the situation, or do you think that the situation is only going to get worse from here?
I don't think we were better equipped. What difference has it made since September when last catastrophe took place? Is that the element of surprise at that point of time was totally with the nature. Nobody knew what would happen. Nobody knew about the intensity of the flood or the havoc it could ravage. Now people were aware about it. Slight change in the weather or continuous rain for 24 hours, little bit of waterlogging and everybody was alert. That alertness has made all the difference. I don't think the official machinery has done much in the last 7-8 months to be prepared for such a situation. because the entire state was caught up in the political scenario. because of the elections, because of the government formation, the coalition partners were struggling with each other to form the government. So valuable time was lost. Another unfortunate thing is that the bureaucratic system also, the administrative system also, it also becomes complacent with the political scenario. Most of the officers and the administration law down the rung, they keep waiting for a final scenario to emerge, who's going to form the government, who's going to become the minister, and accordingly they also act. But it's a saving grace, it's a silver lining that people were alerted, even the system was alerted, people certainly have learned their lessons, even the Chief Minister immediately reached in Kashmir. The Chief Minister at that point of time, Mr. Omar Abdullah was already in Kashmir, but he couldn't act and react, simply because as I said, the element of surprise was with the nature. It came so suddenly, it happened so suddenly. The administration or the government had no clue that a catastrophe of this magnitude can happen overnight. But the scenario is a bit different now, and it's very good that the system, if not prepared, but they have reacted properly, reacted well in time. The Chief Minister immediately rushed to Kashmir. He asked all his ministers to go to their respective constituency or be in Srinagar at least to oversee the situation. Similarly, the centre has also done commendably well. It is only a psychological touch. The Union Minister, Mr. Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi himself couldn't have done anything by going to Srinagar. But it is just a psychological touch. It is just a message from the centre that you have suffered in the past. Here we are with you. And as Mr. Naqvi has just said in his statement yesterday, that all efforts would be made, all kind of help would be provided by the centre.
So the right kind of messages have been sent, but could the situation have been handled a little better or differently?
Absolutely, certainly. I think some short-term measures could have been or should have been taken during the past 7 months, since September. Clearance of drainages, ensuring that if there is a flood of even a lower intensity, how to ensure that the water has to be removed immediately, or pumped out or somewhere. This happened in Lal Chowk area, incidentally. Somehow the administration did well. The water was immediately pumped out. So somewhere down the line they had that thinking, or somewhere down the line they were able to procure those pumps which were not available last time. Last time there were no pumping facilities available also. So some measures have been taken, but you rightly said, Frank, much more could have been done in these 7 months as short-term measures. Long-term measures is a long-drawn battle.
Yes.
You have to redraw the entire map of Kashmir Valley from this perspective, from flood control point of view, from irrigation point of view, how to channelize valleys like a bowl.
Yes.
The water comes and it gets stagnated.
Yes.
There is no flushing out of water as such in the natural course. So that is a long-drawn battle, but my feeling is the short-term measures should have been taken, and the present government should also be alerted and alarmed now that since there is a talk of change in weather or global warming or whatever, so such situations are not now seasonal, but can happen any moment.
Indeed.
So preparation should be with that challenge in your mind.
You know, the Met Department has now forecast rain for another couple of days. So the next few days or the next few hours are going to be extremely crucial. But once that is done and dusted and settled, do you think a political game is going to build up in Kashmir?
I don't think any political game should be played on this. I heard former Chief Minister Omar Abdullah's statement. He resisted some temptation to go all out and attacking, making it a political issue. He did say certain wise things. I think he should stick to his guns. He should help the present government, and the present government should seek his help so that they are benefited from his failures and his experience at that point of time. Similarly, he very rightly said the same administration is still in place. The Chief Secretary is the same, the Director General of Police is the same, the flood control Chief Engineer is the same. I think that is also a plus point. All these Johnnies, rather than being sent and packing, because they were there in the previous dispensation also, benefits should be taken from their experience also, and what could be done to strengthen the system. That is more important, rather than indulging in political ball game or blaming. Yeah, there is a political argument in that, as Omar Abdullah rightly said yesterday. Why hold elections at that point of time? There is an argument for and against it, and unfortunately both the arguments for and against are politically motivated. Someone wanted the election not to be held. He was right to a great extent, Omar Abdullah, when he said the election shouldn't be held. First of all, rehabilitation, relief, then at a later stage. But then he also has an element of politics, because election at that point of time what it did to him
Yes.
is evident.
Yes.
Similarly, the other party wanted to encash upon the situation.
Indeed.
They wanted to encash upon the mess in which Mr. Ahmadullah, his party and Congress were. So they wanted an early election. Again, getting back to what you said, my feeling is the politics should be kept out of this. This
Indeed.
is a very serious issue which is a human approach should be needed.
Indeed.
How to meet this challenge, how to tackle this challenge.
All right, we'll have to leave to that. Thank you so much, Anil Anand, for joining us on the program and telling us exactly what's happening there in Jammu and Kashmir and how the situation should be handled. Moving on now, evacuations of another kind from strife-torn Yemen. 400 Indian nationals have been evacuated from Yemen by the sea route. They have been moved to Djibouti and are to be flown to India soon. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asked the Saudi king to help with the procedures to move Indian nationals out swiftly. Here's a detailed report.
The escalation of the Yemen crisis has raised concerns in India, with about 3,500 Indians currently stranded in the conflict-riddled country. The government is making all efforts to evacuate them safely. 2 passenger ships left for the Djibouti port from Kochi on Monday morning. The vessels MV Karavati and MV Corals can accommodate up to 1,200 people. It will take at least 5 to 7 days for the ships to reach the port. Meanwhile, some 80 Keralites working in Yemen arrived at the Kochi International Airport on Monday. Recalling the situation in Yemen, they said hundreds of their countrymen were living in fear in Yemen.
ഇനി നമുക്ക് ഇനി ചെയ്യാനുള്ള കാര്യം എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ബാക്കിയുള്ള ആൾക്കാരെ എങ്ങനെയെങ്കിലും രക്ഷപ്പെടുത്തിയെടുക്കണം. അതിന് എയർപോർട്ടിൽ നിന്ന് ക്ലിയറൻസ് എടുത്ത് സൗദി ആയിട്ടുള്ള നയതന്ത്ര ബന്ധം യൂസ് ചെയ്യുകയാണെങ്കിൽ
രാത്രിയിലുണ്ടാകുന്ന അറ്റാക്സ് ആദ്യത്തെ ഒരു 2 മണിക്കൂർ ഡ്യൂറേഷൻ ആണെങ്കിൽ ഇപ്പോൾ അത് 12 മണിക്കൂറായിട്ട് വന്നിരിക്കുകയാണ്. യമനിലുള്ള എല്ലാ മലയാളികളും എല്ലാ ഇന്ത്യക്കാരും എസ്കേപ്പ് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി റെഡി ആയിട്ട് നിൽക്കുകയാണ്.
After the MEA obtained permission to operate flights from Yemen's capital Sana'a for up to 3 hours a day, Air India sent its first flight to airlift the stranded.
Approximately 4,000 Indian nationals remain in the conflict zone in Yemen. As a government, we've launched a national endeavor to ensure their safe return back to India. Tomorrow morning, the Minister of State for External Affairs, General V.K. Singh, will be flying to Djibouti to oversee the operations from there.
An Indian Navy patrol vessel involved in anti-piracy operations is also headed for the port of Aden, where a smaller Indian community is based. The government has dismissed criticism that New Delhi was slow to react to the deteriorating situation in Yemen. They say the External Affairs Ministry had issued 3 advisories urging Indian nationals to leave the country, the first on January 21st. The ministry has also set up a 24-hour control room to monitor the situation in the country. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the situation in Yemen shows no signs of improving. An airstrike killed at least 40 people at a camp for displaced people in North Yemen on Monday. The attack apparently targeted nearby Houthi fighters who are battling President Abd Rabbu Mansour Hadi. Besides the 40 killed, nearly 200 are reported wounded. Yemen's state news agency Sabha, which is under the control of the Houthis, said that the camp at Harad was hit by Saudi planes. A Saudi military spokesman said that the kingdom was seeking clarification on the incident. A humanitarian worker said earlier that the strike hit a truck of Houthi military men at the gate to the Mazraq camp near Harad, killing residents, guards and fighters. The situation in Yemen has spiraled out of control in the last 1 week. The coalition has indicated that the campaign, which has the support of the US, will continue for a considerable period of time, though ground combat has been ruled out for now. Fears of a proxy war among the Middle East's big powers now looms large.
Telltale signs of a country in chaos. Airstrikes carried out by a coalition led by Saudi Arabia in Yemen's capital Sana'a. Clashes between rebels and fighters loyal to President Mansour Hadi in downtown Aden. Cities without bomb shelters or safe havens for residents to run to. Empty streets. Diplomats leaving in droves, and worst of all, indications that this is not going to end anytime soon.
There is just cross-boarding artillery operation against some target in the Yemeni northern border. We are using the Apache to attack some concentration of force for the militias, but there is no, let's say, major land operation in the schedule actually.
We haven't made the decision to send ground troops in so far. So far it's been an air campaign, and we have a plan in motion and we're executing this plan.
Earlier on Monday, leaders agreed to form a multinational Arab military force to fight the Houthis. The coalition includes majority Sunni nations, including Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Jordan, Morocco, Egypt and Sudan. However, Iran has denounced the Saudi-led armed intervention.
فيما يتعلق كيف سوف تستخدم هذه القوة، هذه مرحلة لم نصل إليها، لكن لا نستطيع أن نسبق الحوادث ونقول القوة يعني تقوم بهذا أو بذاك.
Meanwhile, countries are scrambling to get their nationals out of the war zone. Pakistan evacuated about 500 of its nationals on Sunday during a brief pause in airstrikes. A Chinese vessel is also docked in the port of Aden to transport Chinese diplomats. This after Saudi Arabia evacuated dozens of diplomats and the United Nations pulled out international staff from Sana'a. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, we'll slip into a short break now, but still to come. Britain in election mode. Elections officially announced after Parliament was dissolved on Monday. That and much more coming up. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
A new government in New Delhi. New faces.
People are not investing because they are scared of your tax administration.
New thinking.
The auction process is a fair and good process.
You cannot have a one-size-fits-all reform policy.
For insights and perspective.
Judiciary should be more concerned about corruption within itself.
The Modi government slogan of "Achhe din aane wale hain." Soon the people's slogan will be "Hamare purane din lauta do."
The biggest show on economic policy. Watch State of the Economy.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, in the aftermath of ugly divisions within the Aam Aadmi Party, indications have emerged of rebels Prashant Bhushan and Yogendra Yadav mulling on floating a new political outfit, among other things. Reports say that Bhushan and Yadav, who were voted out of the National Executive in controversial circumstances on Saturday, will now hold a convention of their supporters and volunteers on April 14th to strategize on the way forward. The buzz is that Yogendra Yadav may now face the axe as the party's chief spokesperson. News reports suggest that the party will soon release a new list of spokespersons which will not figure Yogendra Yadav's name. Let's take a look now at some news-making events lined up for today in our segment, The Day Ahead. Home Minister Rajnath Singh will visit Cooch Behar in West Bengal to inspect Indian and Bangladeshi enclaves. His visit comes before the land boundary bill is tabled in the parliament for exchanging enclaves between the two countries. All 51 Bangladeshi enclaves are located in the district of Cooch Behar, while 111 Indian enclaves are located in 4 Bangladeshi districts close to the Bengal border. BJP's membership drive will conclude today. BJP has claimed to be the world's largest party with 87 million members, surpassing the Communist Party of China that has 86 million members. The party disclosed over the weekend that it has 8.8 crore members. However, it fell short of its target of enrolling 10 crore members across the country. India and China will celebrate the 65th anniversary of the establishment of bilateral diplomatic relations between the two countries. Consul General of the People's Republic of China, Zheng Shiyuan, will host a reception in Mumbai for guests and artists from both countries. Noted artist Prakash Bal Joshi will conduct a live painting demonstration at the function. Going on to some international news now. Early results in the Nigerian polls show the opposition leading over Goodluck Jonathan's PDP party. Counting of votes is underway and the final results are expected later today. This even as the US and UK express concerns over possible political interference in the count.
Nigerian candidates locked in a tight race. Early results indicate an opposition lead.
Muhammadu Buhari is leading with 11.5 million votes, with only 6 states uncounted as of now. Incumbent President Goodluck Jonathan is trailing with 9.5 million votes. Despite an early lead for Buhari, PDP remains confident of victory.
We are happy and we thank Nigerians for having voted for our party in those 8 states, because what we have seen is that in the entire 8 states and FCT, we are leading with the total number of votes cast, and we have satisfied the requirement of 2/3 majority.
As results started to trickle in, the United States and Britain expressed concerns over signs of political interference in counting process. The voting was marred by confusion and technical glitches.
We saw some procedural irregularities during voting and counting, with procedures not always being followed. For example, results at polling unit level were not always publicly displayed. Collation was further problematic, with, for example, results from polling units not always arriving in time.
A new war of words also emerged between both ruling and opposition parties, as both accused each other of vote rigging. Protests flared up in few places as Buhari supporters called for a fresh election.
The presidential election results are first collated at the state level and the FCT, and the state coalition officers bring the signed original copies of the result to the National Coalition Center.
Final results are expected by the end of the day. Early predictions and opinion polls have raised the prospect of a stunning ballot box victory for Muhammadu Buhari, who first came to power 3 decades ago in a military coup. However, analysts say that there is still time for a reversal of fortunes, with one of Jonathan's big support bases in Niger Delta yet to be counted. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
Well, following months of unofficial campaigning, the British election campaign began in earnest on Monday evening after Parliament was dissolved. Several leaders formally hit the campaign trail with 38 days to go for polling day on the 7th of May. Commentators say that the 5.5-week race for 10 Downing Street could be the most unpredictable in a generation. Issues likely to dominate the campaign include the economy and spending cuts, Britain's EU membership, the future for the NHS and immigration. Labour leader Ed Miliband launched the party's business manifesto amid a row over corporate backing for its EU policy. Deputy Prime Minister and Lib Dem leader Nick Clegg said that his party would occupy the reasoned centre ground during the campaign.
The general election will be held on May the 7th. And until that day, I will be going to all 4 corners of all 4 nations of our United Kingdom with one clear message. Together, we are turning our country around. And for your sake, your family's sake, the sake of your children and their future, we must see this through together.
Moving on now, negotiators from the United States, Iran and 5 other nations pushed into the night on Monday to try to reach a preliminary political agreement on limiting Iran's nuclear program. The deadline for a preliminary accord to be reached expires on the 31st of March. It seemed clear that even if an accord were reached, some of the toughest issues would remain unresolved until late June, as both sides stuck to their positions. The political accord, which American officials hope will be announced on Tuesday, is intended to define the main elements of a comprehensive agreement that it is to be completed by the end of June. Among the main points that the negotiators have been grappling with are the pace of lifting UN sanctions and restrictions on research and development of new types of centrifuges. Let's take a look now at news and updates from around the globe in our World Wrap. Torrential rains caused by El Nino have led to widespread flooding in northern Peru. Peru's government has declared a state of emergency in 3 regions affected in recent days by heavy rains, landslides and floods. Days of intense rainfall caused the Tumes River to overflow, leaving thousands of hectares of agricultural land underwater. Authorities also declared a state of emergency for 60 days in 15 districts of 2 provinces of the Moquegua region located in the south, which has also been affected by heavy rains and floods. The Greek Prime Minister has said that he seeks an honest compromise with lenders during a debate in Parliament on the bailout extension. He stressed, however, that he will not accept an unconditional agreement. Prime Minister Tsipras argued that the country needs a new debt restructuring deal. Greece's public debt reached more than 177% of the national output last year. Tsipras also appealed to the centre-right opposition to support his efforts. One person was killed and one other seriously injured after the duo tried to crash a car into the gate of the headquarters of the National Security Agency in Fort Meade on Monday. Officials said that the motive was unknown, but the incident was not related to terrorism. FBI is investigating the incident that happened about 20 miles northeast of Washington. Let's now bring you all the sports updates in our sports beat. Pakistan's cricket board has named batsman Azhar Ali as the new one-day international captain with Sarfaraz Ahmed as his deputy. Ali will replace Misbah-ul-Haq after the latter retired from the one-day format. Ali has played 14 one-day internationals and 39 test matches for Pakistan. Pakistan is scheduled to tour Bangladesh for a test and one-day series from mid-April. World number 1 Novak Djokovic moved into the fourth round of the Miami Open with a straight sets victory over Steve Darcis of Belgium. The 8-time Grand Slam winner won the match 6-0, 7-5 and will next face Ukraine's Alexander Dolgopolov. Milos Raonic of Canada and Kei Nishikori also advanced to the fourth round. Tunisia will be allowed to compete in the 2017 African Nations Cup qualifiers after the country's football federation struck a deal with the Confederation of African Football. The Tunisia Football Federation was threatened with expulsion from the preliminary tournament if it did not apologize by March 31st for claims of bias by officials in this year's Nations Cup. And finally, a beach surfboard event with a difference. The participants in this event in the Philippines are children with special needs, and the exercise is part of the therapy. I'm going to leave you with these visuals. Have a nice day.